Hey there, gamers. Welcome back to CrypticGamin. I hope you've been having a wonderful week. So I think we're good to go. I was having some issues trying to get into the game earlier, but it looks like we have everything lined out. So tonight, just going to be doing some light farming. I want to show you some of the farming that I'm doing here in late season. Understand your tactics in this game. They've got to change from the beginning of a grind coming into a season toward the end of the grind. As you will notice, Ubisoft likes to buff a lot of the things that you hit early on. They want to make the game where you're going to have to come up with a large team, but then they're going to start scaling your enemy. But there's ways around that and ways to tweak into that. So that's what I'm going to be showing you tonight in the gameplay here as we do this. Now, we do have some pretty big farm events on Friday nights and Saturdays. So definitely make sure that you check us out on the Discord, guys. I highly recommend doing that. We've been having quite a few new folks coming in, and sounds like we've been getting some good feedback. Hopefully been helping a lot of folks out with that. So I'm going to get us a link here so I could go ahead and post that up, because it's usually one of the big questions we get asked here is how to join the Discord. So I want to make sure that that is handled coming straight in here. Here we go. So there's that Discord link for anyone who's looking to join the Discord group. So typically we would farm tier 2, and we were coming over here to Houston Capital. Now, one of the things that you're going to notice is whether you're farming this thing alone or with a team, whether you're in tier 1 or tier 2, especially tier 2, you're going to start seeing a lot of level 20 ships coming. In fact, it's almost all you're going to really see as you come into tier 2 when you start farming Houston Capital. Everything's going to ramp up about that second pace. You can still farm it solo here in tier 1, and we'll probably throw some of that in, but I'm going to show you what I typically do. This is to get pieces of 8. Now, I understand you're not going to get a lot of the Ascension modules out of this, but you can potentially get upgrade parts. Now, you may be wondering, how am I going to get upgrade parts if I'm not in tier 2? Well, you don't have to get ascended weapons to salvage in order to get those. You can salvage any weapon that drops in the game, and a lot of times you can even get those upgrade parts. Sometimes you even get your ascension parts that way. Now, once you get your helm, this is basically what I'm trying to teach folks right now is helm control. As you're doing your helm, you're going to see things like these buyouts. This is where, if you were early on farming like I've instructed you, you should have a lot of these materials to come in here and do buyouts. And what I'm doing now is I never fast travel directly through the buyout. I say no, then I back up and then fast travel to the location. And it cuts out that small cut scene of trying to load into the water and then you come up. And you can actually save, about 45 seconds to a minute on an upload if you're just coming in, catching the very tail end of that. So we'll come up here, we're going to buy this real quick. So there's 450 pieces of 8 plus a chest. And I'm not exactly sure what, if any, use I have for these chests now. You can get some materials from it, but you also end up sometimes getting a helm lease, and I don't know what I would need a helm lease for now, unless it's something they're going to be adding into the game. As we talked about in another video, it could be something when they finally release the Northern Territory. They did mention a little bit about that in the deck. If you caught that, if you missed it, they had a little bit of information, but not as much information as we were hoping to get from them about Season 2 and the large ships. But their roadmap that they put out, you can Google that, and it will show you a roadmap, and it shows that frigate comes in Season 2. Now, if they change that, that's on them. We're just reporting what they give us as far as information, guys. We also have the chat on here, so if you got something you'd like to say in chat, I can monitor that voice chat, or I'm sorry, the text chat right now. So always loving the this ability to be able to talk with the gamers here. So make sure you say hello so we know that you're out there watching, guys. Now, so you can run that, and then of course you'll get another buyout over here that pops up. Now, you may be saying, I'm not eligible. If you run one, you're not eligible for the other. Now, what you can do, though, is you can watch to see if you have any hostiles that come up. Typically, if you end up with 2 buyout locations, you're not going to see a hostile. In fact, you probably won't see a legendary heist. Don't let that get you down. So what we're going to do over here, and this is, if you fought this over in tier 2, it takes a little bit. Not real long, but this is going to be a quick way to drop a quick 130 to 200 pieces of 8. Between this and Hunted Up both, you can pop those. You can go over and solo the Undead Zamaharabu or the Risen Zamaharabu, get another 800 pieces of 8. Now that's going to be once in a 24-hour period that you're eligible for that. But you can run this here and the other one and just bounce between these two, catch some legendary heists, and you can average upward of 5,000 or 6,000 pieces of 8 within an hour. Now you can actually get more than that potentially if you're hitting a lot of the hostile takeovers that pay 450. You might even run into a couple that pay the 900. I do recommend hitting the higher ones if you can. As to what it is that determines how much those are paying, I'm not entirely certain, to be honest. Okay, so that right there, that was a quick payout. We got a treasure chest. We did get a culverin too. Some silver, some sinew string. Those are always great things. Some cup for bars, 159 pieces of 8. Like I say, there's not a set amount that we're going to get from that. So once our wanted level goes away, we're going to travel up here to hunted. I do try to pop in and check this just to make sure it's not going to give me an eligibility. It will sometimes. I don't know why sometimes you can hit both. Typically you're not going to be allowed to, but it doesn't hurt to keep an eye on that. Okay, so we'll hit hunted. There is a Berserker just to the south of us, and it can give you an upgrade part. Typically I've not gotten much from that, about 50 pieces of 8. So time constraints and looking at it from the amount of munitions, it's not really worth running that. But you can come up here, hit this captain here. You're going to get another nice little payout. It's not going to take long to take him out. If you actually hit a ship or don't shoot over it like I just did twice. Of course, we want that weak spot each time. Always attack from back, and you can use these attack tactics in tier 2 as well. Don't get in front. He's just going to ram you, and he's going to try to pop you with that fire. So there is, again, there's this another 150 to 200 pieces of 8. We'll just have to see. We get naphtha, so that's going to be pretty nice. Another treasure chest. 15 cup for bars. 139 pieces of 8. So not always a high payout, but it's going to be some. Now what we're doing is we're waiting on a payout down below here. There is a boss that spawns up here, but you got to actually watch for the spawns. Okay, so we did not get that quick travel option with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to travel over here, and we got a fast travel point here down south of us. We could have probably actually went over here to the Indies and caught that one, but we'll just travel down here. As I say, there's a boss that spawns right here in this location. Sometimes he'll show up in the match. Sometimes it doesn't. It's the DNC Anaga, not to be mistaken with the Honorless event. So you go to Ragnarok Cave, just travel north, take it out real quick. It's going to give you some more 8s, some more parts. Now, typically you would get an Honorless event that would spawn over there, and you would actually be able to... when I said Honorless event, I'm talking about an ambush. You could fight that, and you can earn some pieces of 8 that way. That's what was happening last night. It did not just happen. So totally up to you if you want to do it. It does take a little bit of time to actually fight through it. So if you're just wanting some really quick hits, then just farm these two. Like I said, there's 300 pieces of 8. You can run these periodically, just knocking them as soon as they spawn up. They take about, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes to respawn. And again, always checking. We're going to put this stuff here in the warehouse real quick. We're going to go ahead and move the box too. We'll open all that later. Okay, so we'll double check this one here. I think we still got 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. So that should be enough time for us to come up. Now you can check for some events over here. I did run the Reaver's Vengeance last night, or I'm sorry, this morning, not last night, this morning. So it's not going to pay the 800 pieces of 8 on that. Now you can just run it if you want to. Some of these things will pay 8s. Very few though. You have to kind of watch. You can come up and hit watch the throne. Takes a few more shots that of course you're going to want to spend. It takes a little bit more time. It's up to you how you want to run it. I believe what I'm going to do here is I'm going to jump straight up Ragnarok Cave, and we're going to swing north and catch that boss up there, and then we'll be able to go back to the Fangs of the Fara. And like I say, when you want to, oh, we got an honorless counter up here. I hadn't seen that one up there. We might check it out. I don't know. And you can hit like the Missouri and things like that as well. I don't see doing a POC even here in Tier 1. It's just not a big enough payout to deal with the headache of it. And you can take him out fairly quick as long as nobody shows up. If someone shows up, all it takes is one shot and it's going to scale that boss. Now, I am not seeing our boss up here. Get around this island here. They may have removed it. Okay, no big deal. Say, constantly changing your tactics because the game is ever evolving as well. What do we have here? Show of strength, DMC, and then it disappeared that quick. So you gotta really watch to see when these things are popping, man. Because I'm gonna go ahead and travel over here to Fangs of Far. It starts in 30 seconds. It is frustrating trying to catch some of these things. All right. Let's see where we're currently sitting at on our 8s. I've got 3,000. So what I'm doing currently is just got this location up here. I need to go and find out which of these is the capital city is what I need to do. That's for the Ghana or whatever it's called. Then I need to come up, and I've got up here I'm going to open up, and that'll have all my territories open. I will have 3 Ascension module production areas, and I want to do 3 for the upgrade parts. And then, of course, continue to finish those off. Now, I don't know if these convoys here are going to pay out 8s or not. It could potentially be worth hitting. Let's go ahead and hit it while we're down here. Typically, I don't recall getting 8s from these things. But, you know, it's worth it because we might even get those weapons this end, which will give you some upgrade parts at the very least. Very quick farming. Yep, we did get some 8s from it, so definitely worth hitting some of these little convoys too while we're waiting. Now the fire bombs will keep them from healing. If you see that blue line, that's typically where they're fixing to heal. If they are able to get that heal, and it's going to throw a little bit of health back on there. So there's another one down. We're going to go ahead and hit this. We should have, might pick up a couple hundred pieces of 8 from this. Again, hitting the gold ships, you can hit them all, but your focus is the main ships that are actually going to pay out the treasure ships. All right. Now we should be able to pick up our Fangs of Fara up here. Up to you if you want to run these cutthroats. I don't bother with them. There's not really anything that I need from them. Now, early stage of the game for new players, you could potentially get some Black Prince armor. You could pick up some dards. So, yeah, it's up to you if you want to take your time out to run those. The main thing is make sure that you're having fun with it. So they're dropping explosive barrels. So I don't know if that's going to be a new material or a new weapon we're going to be able to access here in the future, but I've noticed it's come into the game. I've also noticed in World Tier 2, if you fight these bosses, the escort ships with them, they actually will have the Hunter perk. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what the Hunter perk is, if you've played PvP, the Hunter perk, the ultimate, well, that's actually made its way into the PvE on NPC ships. So I'm hoping that means we are going to get to use it. Probably not, but that's what my hopes are in time. So now I may actually pick some water bottles or water flasks up, or maybe some drums, just to get a little more speed out of this ship. Not a bad ship, but it's not the fastest on the water, obviously, like a brigantine. It does have a little more health to it. A little more maneuverable than, say, a sandbuck. Not quite as high of a DPS, but there may actually be someone here shooting at this thing. I see some explosions. Let's see. I don't see anybody's ship, though. Now, you may be wondering why it didn't pick that map up earlier. I actually have my inventory filled with maps. I don't run maps. I never really have. Now, if you need, like, silver and things, you could get some stuff from it. But the materials that they give in it isn't anything that I personally need. Now, the amount of time it takes to travel again, I'm going to just wait for my... What we got here? It is 3 minutes there. We'll wait for my... wanted level to go away, because our port is south of me. This way I can actually fast travel quicker. 200 here. We'll take it out. By the time we drop it, we should be ready for either a legendary heist, or we'll see what pops up in our next reset. Every 18 minutes I think we get a reset on the helm, so definitely worth grabbing. You can get a couple 900s, or 900 and a 450, depending on what they end up spawning in there for you. I've not seen as many 900s here the last couple weeks. Now, I don't know if that's just simply because they just aren't giving them to us anymore, if that has to do with it being, past mid-season. I'm not really sure. They're changing some things in the economy on this game as we go, which is pretty typical. Alright, got those 8s. Now there is a fast travel right behind me. Let me go there. Okay, we got an honorless event on us. Okay, sweet. Let's see what we can get out of this thing. A lot of times these just really aren't worth running because of the amount of cannonballs it takes. Now, while I have plenty of ammo, it's just one of those things that it takes longer to take these out, and I could actually potentially run 2 or 3 more events in the amount of time it takes to run through one of these honorless ambushes. But it doesn't hurt to throw one in, just kind of, change it up a little bit. You don't always want to run the same stuff. You're getting 900 on manufacturer buyouts? Yeah, so the buyouts you get the 900. And every now and then you'll get 2. Sometimes it'll let you grab both, but normally it doesn't. Once you buy one, you can get the other one, say, ineligible. But those are definitely worth doing, the buyouts. So if you're wondering where you get the materials, it just depends. A lot of capital relics and things like that, so it's worth farming your capital cities of all of the clans that you have in there. You name it, it's in there. Hit those Houston capital over at what's the name of that over there? Levastide, I think, is the world campaign. Oh shoot, we're catching fire from something. It's going to be embarrassing to get sunk on this thing. Okay. So the amount of time it takes to get this honor list done. Now what I'm doing is I'm waiting for a heal. But I'm also waiting for mortars and stuff too. We can attack him log off. We don't have to get right on top of him. That's one of the great things about the setup of weapons. Manufacturer delivering 8s. Yeah, so those are nice. Once you get them to level 2s, you can actually have ships pick up your 8s. And that's always a great thing. Now, the higher level your factory, the higher level ship you need. Level 2s you can pick up with level 7, 5, 7, and 8 ships. Level 3s require like an 8 to a 9, which will pick up anywhere from 240 to 340. Once you get level 4, you need a level 11 or higher, I believe it is, ship to pick those up. That's Mad Hobbits. Man, I hadn't seen you in a few days. You must be working a lot. Yeah, you still get POA pieces of 8 from a buyout even if you own them, which is nice. That's typically if you didn't own it, it would give you a contract. Of course, that's the reason you're getting the piece of 8 because you do own it, so it's worth doing for that aspect. I also like to throw in my my helm delivery, which is to pick up a contract and just dump this stuff. Man, this thing is just taking way too long. Okay. Like I said, I figured we'd give it a chance, but I've got stuff I want to do. Like I said, I'm going for the most bang for your buck when it comes to farming here. So we're going to come on around and pop in at this zone. And these little ships here, you don't get anything from them. Like tier 2, you would get some ascended modules and things like that from it. Or potentially some ascended weapons, I guess is actually what it is. Correct. But here we get, look like silver and a repair kit. Of course, we've got some helm over here, it looks like. Maybe Shadow Fleet, actually. Just the rank rover. So this is actually new. The disengage combat at the dock has a 10-second count, and you can move on. Like I say, up to you if you want to deal with those things, but the fact it takes so long to do it, we actually have already reset on our hunted. And also on our helm here as well. So we could run this, but see, you're looking at 175 pieces of 8 on that. Your buyout, this one here's not reset. Got a minute 19 left on that one. And then 450, I think, right here on the heists. So we're going to run up here and grab this heist. Now, something I have noticed here lately when I run these heists is it'll show like this top location, but when it actually moves you to the location, you might be somewhere totally different in the map. So let's see where we're at. It looks like we're actually over here in the southern DMC zone. So, but don't freak out. Don't start heading up to this location. It's just a visual glitch. When this actually starts here in another minute 50 seconds, it'll actually be down, most likely running this passage here. But we'll have to wait and see where it's going to be at here. So it's limited on your factories you can own. Yeah, so that's if you look inside your upgrades, you can find down here in the actual Helm Empire, and also within each territory, there's going to be these little octopus with a plus. It is going to increase the amount of factories you can own. That's going to be down here in this Helm tree here, but you're also going to notice it in locations such as right here. It's going to give you where you can even have like a certain amount of expansion, like how high you can actually run your manufactory. So it's worth getting them all the way up. But I say right now I want to make sure I need to go and fund this one up at the capital city here Well, my plan is tonight is to open up my Ascension module production up here. And then I need one over here, which would be 50,000 between these two locations here. Right now, I'm currently producing these upgrade parts there. But we're getting there. Like I say, so it's not going to get built in a day, but we are getting there. And here's another one here. But like I say, I want to do 3 and 3. We have production parts coming off 3 locations and Ascension parts coming off the other. That way, I can focus on the rest of my helm as well, getting all of that built up. And coming into your future seasons and future content, it's really going to help you out on that kind of stuff. PO8 are really kind of a almost not quite outmoded, but it's becoming an outmoded source of income in this game as far as it doesn't have quite the use that it used to have, so you don't really need as much of it. In some aspects, obviously upgrading the helm's taking a lot longer than it used to, but there's not as much stuff that you can buy with it per se. Where it's really coming into handy is it's going to fund your helm so that you can be producing things like your planetary gear sets, all of your specialty types of it, strong eagles, rope, and things like that. You're going to be able to produce a lot of that stuff in those manufactories for later in the game whenever you start running into the northern expansions. That's going to have your territorial takeovers and stuff where you're actually funding up materials and even pieces of 8 into your mega fort that your team's going to be building. So those are going to be some pretty cool aspects in the game later. So Mango, up to you if you want to engage on him. Like I say, we're more or less just focused on getting this here, but it is going to be one of those nights, it looks like, where we're going to be trying to run certain types of convoys intersecting with other things. Okay, so as you can see, we've got a lot of convoys here. And man, go and took ourselves out. Okay, here we go. We're going to go ahead and just focus on this guy. I think we'll be okay. Surely by this stage we can handle one little ship shooting at us while we're taking on another fleet. Hobbits, you feel free to jump in with me now if you want to, man. Like I say, I keep things set up for friends only, and I'm pretty sure you're on my in-game friends list, so anyone who wants to join in stream and join in farm, you're welcome to hop on in and join up on me. I've got it opened up where you can do that. Always makes it fun. That's just privateer. That ain't gonna be no good for us. Silver, that's about all they're good for. Tell you what, that brace comes in handy. Alright, let's grab our loot and scoot. And of course they will take your cell out immediately after you grab your loot to get you to sit still so they can bombard the snot out of you. Pop your heal and get on up the road. Now we're pretty far in the South Territory, so it won't hurt to see where we're at. I'm on the outer pass, so that should be fine. I prefer to be on the inner skirt though, but I'll just cut the difference on the islands here. No, ordinarily I would have went ahead and took those helm ships and tried to grab some materials out of them, but typically when you're carrying this, you're not going to actually get any sugarcane or any of those helm items. You're just going to get a box of cannonballs and maybe a repair kit. So up to you how you want to do it. Now there is a pass that cuts through this island up here, but I think I'm just going to take the open waters here. So like the pass was right back up in here. Yeah, right in there. We've done past this. So we're just going to swing up, come around, and then hit into Talak. Like everything's kind of ramped up here today. Now there has been a few issues for those of you who may or may not have noticed this. I noticed it last night. If you run that Risen Zamaharabu down below, and for whatever reason, if it times out on you, this was over in Tier 2, but I thought about trying to check it out here in Tier 1. But if you run out of time, that thing will actually follow you around. And I ended up setting up in front of Fort Houston, Mega Fort Houston with it. Like aggroed on me. It wasn't actually hurting me because I was out of the zone, but it was destroying the other ships that would spawn up around Houston while I was farming it. Definitely worth checking. Now, it was taking damage from the actual tower shooting at it. So if I'd have thought, I wished I could have went ahead and started recording that because that was actually kind of cool. I'm pretty sure it was just one of those like things where it happens sometimes, but we might try to repeat that tonight. Yeah, I think pretty sure our pass is coming up in just a minute. Now, anytime the helm ships that chase you are missing behind you, if you didn't blow them up like we just kept on blowing up, that means they're typically going to be waiting up around a corner somewhere up ahead. So my guess is when we come across this path, they'll either be directly on the right or on the left as we come out here. Typically, nope, there's some just spawned in behind us. Oh, it's some little yellow flagged ships, man. Those things are just a pest anymore. You know, it'd be one thing if they actually gave you, something worth sinking them. They're just something that you just wasting cannonballs at. It seems like here anymore. Used to actually get little parts and stuff from those that could be used for some things. Now that is something that I'm definitely going to take out as that sharpshooter. He might only be a level 7, but they will be an issue later if you leave them unchecked. Yeah, as you can see, we end up spawning those dudes literally right on top of us. That happens a lot. Okay, now we should have another takeover that's getting ready to pop. We've got 5 minutes. Yeah, we'll be able to get up here in time. Not a takeover, I'm sorry, a buyout. About 5 minutes, we should get another buyout. We'll be another 900. Then we'll jump in, grab our contracts from the helm, go sync the liaisons. That should be good for anywhere from 900 to 1200 is typically what I get. Depends if you get any of those contracts with the Jade in it. Now, Jade, that you get 650 or 630 to 650 out of a contract on those sometimes. Definitely worth running those. If you can get double contracts, you can pull in 1,300 pieces of 8 just going and sinking some liaisons. So we have definitely started to gather up a little bit of a herd behind us here. We might take some of these out. That's a Bombard 5 I've got second storm on. It just kind of like really plays around on her. Pretty good back there. And of course our Eye of Heaven up here, it has second storm on it as well. And it'll just play around some electricity on them. Give them a little something to think about back there. Now, one of the tricks on Mega Fort Houston here in Tier 1, and it's, like I say, it's kind of shady. It's not really shady. It doesn't really benefit everyone in the server. If you run this, run it solo. Don't hit the eyeglass and ask for help, because the more people that come in and shoot at it, it begins to scale, which is going to scale the amount of enemy ships that show up. But it's also going to scale the level of the ships that show up as well. So if you're running into an issue where you're getting a lot of like 17 to 19, level 17 to 19 sharpshooters and broadsiders showing up, the little ships that come up and single shot you, look around. Did you ask for help? Do you have a lot of people showing up that shot at the fort or joined the plunder, but aren't really actually helping with the sinking of the ships? If you're running into that, switch your server. When you start farming, don't ask for help. What you're running into a lot of times, guys, is you're running into a situation where you're running, like, okay, well, I'm going to invite some people. They're going to show up and everyone's going to help with the ships. But what happens, they join the plunder and they sit there and they're healing ships where they can heal themselves, and they just sit and wait. And they don't fire at anything. They don't help with the walls. They don't help take out any of the ships and stuff. You've seen them if you farm this stuff. What you want to do when that starts happening, just go to another server and move on. Or when they start that, just leave the area. The ships will naturally aggro on them at that point. You know, and there's no sense in you doing all the work for other people. I know that's bad to say, but if you're playing in a team, jump down into single parties and farm it. That's going to help keep the scaling down some. But if you're running into a situation where you have randoms showing up and they're just sitting there, it's up to you how nice you want to be in that situation. Well, I used to be the type of person that I would, send out a help thing, just to let people know it's being farmed. The more I did that, the more I started to notice people were just kind of sitting back, not really contributing to the plunder. So, like I said, it's up to you if you want to allow that to happen. Okay, so some of these weapons, like Zama 1s, Covering 2s, I don't really use those. Even like Royal Custodian armor, I don't really use it. I'll hang on to it in case a new person needs it. But a lot of these lower level weapons, I go ahead and I just start salvaging those. And you can, not always, but you can potentially pull in some. I don't need quite that many health kits on me. There we go. That'll reduce some of our weight. Now, we're going to go over here and we're going to salvage some of those weapons and see how many upgrade parts we can get. It doesn't even have to be an ascended weapon. Now, I've not seen an ascension module drop out of a non-ascended weapon. I've heard it happens. I can't say that I've ever witnessed it myself, but I'm also not calling people a liar. So, it's just one of those things where it's luck of the draw, I guess, what you end up getting. Let's see here. So this is a Terran Covering 1. Let's go ahead and destroy these here. Well, I say destroy, we're just salvaging them. And nothing special. We'll keep them Zama 3s. Keeping our Divine Thunders. I'm kind of picky about what I don't need. Nah, I didn't see anything jump. Like I say, it's rare. But I've not seen an Ascended module jump out of those either. So, or an Ascension mod. But. Okay, let us check and see. Have we gotten a reset? So, yeah, we've got this here for 450. The buyouts. I'm not seeing a buyout. 450 here. 175. That just, I mean, those used to pay at least 300. I'm not sure what happened. They've changed something in the system, but we'll grab this for 450. Actually, let's see where it spawned me and how much time before it starts. Five minutes on it. I'm gonna go a different route. What I'm going to do is what I was going to do is jump into the Helm office and grab some of those contracts. I may actually farm out some of the switch it up, farm out some of these forts around here too to get some Helm materials. Now, if you wanna make some quick eights, you can load up on contracts and sell your materials after you've brought them up to different levels. I like to sync the liaisons. I don't typically sell things on the island, but if you've got a big store and you're not too worried about the silver build up, you can make a lucrative profit off pieces of 8 doing that too. And I'll show you how to do that here, but because that's not something I get in the habit of. I don't typically sell any materials. Like I said, I like to live by the pirate motto: take what you want, give nothing back. And I'm not paying anything for anything I can get for free. If I can get it at the point of a cannonball hitting, I'm gonna make sure I get it. Just make sure you take the blacksmith's advice in this game. Don't take a cannonball to the chest. You're getting 525 for jade, really? Man, it usually pays like 630 for me. But how high up is your helm up there too? That may have something to do with your pricing on that. And I think it's Darimpa, maybe. I have to look see. One of those actually ups what your jade sells for too. And that could be refined jade. I'm not sure. We'll have to look and see what it says here in the office. And we've got some helm ships here. We'll go ahead and take these dudes out. Say got some cannonballs and some rockets from them, but those ships typically don't pay out a whole lot. It's the other ones that you will. Now, you can potentially drop some pieces of 8 if you're hunting the ill fleets and gannet fleets and stuff. Let's go ahead and travel up here to Red Isle. Now, I'm not currently processing the juniper berries into gin, and the reasoning for that is I'm trying to save up those materials for one of the guys in the Discord. But I am actively doing the skull products as far as the sugar cane. I might just start my gold skull on that as well, the rum. Okay, so order registry, this is where the magic happens if you want to make you some 8s. Like I say, if you want to actually sell the materials to the rover, you have to carry them. I sync the rovers, not 525 on that one. So that is the Imperial Jade. I think that's raw jade. No, that's actually a normal jade. Wow, that's crazy. And then a gold skull rum. So yeah, maybe those prices have changed since last time I've been doing this stuff. So we've got that. Then, of course, you've got your standard orders, which is where you would meet on an island to sell these. So you could actually travel up to like Il Michel. Now, I don't typically travel south and have to turn around and go north. Typically, what I'll do is I'll complete one and then come back to the location and do the other. Unless what you can see sometimes, we'll go ahead and pop this on here real quick. you will sometimes end up getting a situation where you can run this here, and then there might be like they're buying the materials up here or somewhere around in one of these areas. I will travel and I'll do those, but right now you can hit the rover here, and it looks like the actual buyout for those materials is going to be way up here in the Western Basin. So don't want to, I am not going to travel that far. You'll probably time out. You can always travel back, but like I said, I don't typically sell that stuff. Now you can, if you want to, come over here, and I wouldn't recommend doing it while you're doing those, but you can come in here, you can run your supply deal rovers. I will hit those next. Typically I run these first, but I've already picked these contracts up. Hit that. That's going to give you an aggro where those ships will be popping up, and you basically just get resources off of them after you're destroying those. Then you can do your rogue hunts, and that's going to give you, your juniper berries and things like that as well. But you can potentially drop eights, not very often. It's mostly going to be materials, and you're going to occasionally get things like the gannet saltpeter from your gannet's fleets, the worm's breath from the worm's fleets, and then there's occasionally eel fleets and things like that you'll get those materials there as well. But it looks like all of these rogue hunts are pretty much right around the scale area. So what we may do after we run this is pick these three up, to jump over here and pick up these three and just farm the crap out of all that real quick, and come back over, get the most bang for our buck, and pop back in. But then everything you do, you're going to end up having a helm wanted level on you, and that's fine too, because you can pick up these fort plunders and just really have a good old time of that stuff. So sugar cane, you can find a lot of these 660s. Juniper berries has been, man, I tell you what, they're 330. That's not a bad one. Most of them for me has been in around the 150s here lately. It's just been kind of dry out there. So let's go ahead and set sail. So we're at Bombard's River. Okay. But the main thing with this game is you have to keep in mind that you have to constantly evolve with the way that the game's evolving coming through the pass. Typically, at the beginning of a pass, you have a really high drop rate, and then you end up with a situation where it's going to slowly buff the enemies. It almost seems like maybe they're nerfing your weapons. If you watch your weapon damage, by 3/4 of the way through the pass, you actually start losing some effectiveness on that weapon. That doesn't mean you need to rebuild your ship per se. You can put on some different furnitures and see if you can strengthen your furniture if they're releasing some new stuff in the game, or maybe retweak some of the ways that you've done. But typically, if you've reached the bulk of what you can reach in your ship, just increase your farming fleet, meaning you're playing with friends to come out and do the farming and stuff like that as well. But understand, it's just the way the game is geared. Come next season, it's going to reset back at a base level, and it's going to slowly start building back up again. We dealt with it all last year. It's just the way this game does. It seemed like the Division back in the day, Division 2 and stuff, was pretty similar in that as well. I think it's just the way that Ubisoft does their pass. When you see fireworks over a location like the Bastide, honestly, I'm not really sure, man. You have some, if you're farming a location, you'll see like some flares that go up, and that's them asking for help. But as far as just some fireworks, you'll see like Labastide has some. You may see that there'll be some like down here at Grand Fort occasionally. I've never seen any at Houston Capital. I've heard that there could be some. I think it just happens at capitals. Like Labastide is actually a capital. The other one's actually a capital area. So I think that's why you're seeing the fireworks. Not entirely sure, to be honest. It's a good question, but that was something we tried to figure out last year, what it would mean, if there was any kind of meaning to it at all. I think it's just indicating that is a capital city. I jerked that one right at the last second. Just missed bigger than heck, didn't we? Now, ordinarily, I like to pick up anything that those ships drop, but I'm not going to steer out of the way to go pick it up. It'll be in the water later. Yeah, it seems to just indicate a capital. I mean, that's typically when it comes in and you see like you make ascension parts or upgrade parts, it'll say at capitals. It took me a little bit to figure out what the capitals were. That I was like, well, maybe it was just these locations with the fireworks, and that ends up being where they're all at. So like you have up here, the Sunny Capital. Then you have the Houston Capital. The Bastide, I haven't got it opened up yet, but that's going to be the next one. Then I've got Jiwi's going to be a capital here. Go ahead and set that up for some ascension parts. We got a capital down here at Tianawa Town. Then I need to, I guess Grand Fort's going to be another area maybe. I don't think Grand Fort's a capital now, so. But I have seen fireworks at Grand Fort, so I don't know. Maybe it's not just capitals. It's hard to say. Can't see me online, really? Let me look here. It says friends. You're Mad Hobbit, right? I sent you an invite. Now that is one thing that it can take a minute for your, especially if you're cross-platform, the Ubisoft in the game ID system, finding your friends. Sometimes it works great, sometimes not so great. It's just kind of one of those things. I can't wait till we can actually hunt those whales. Now this here can be a rather long trip. Sound like, yep, you made it. Now for whatever reason it's showing me at a level 0. Yeah, like I say, in game they kind of, it gets kind of weird sometimes trying to match up. So we'll have to wait and see if we're fixing to get kicked out of this thing. I had some issues actually joining in earlier and had to restart the stream and stuff. Change a few settings. I'm not sure what's going on with the game. Here the last few days it's been kind of hokey. As far as I know, we're still streaming. Let me double check here, guys. I want to adjust some of this stuff so I can kind of see what's going on here. All right. Call them the Wells Moby. Yeah. I'm hoping eventually they have where we could actually do a little farming on it. Yeah, so if y'all look at the top left-hand corner when you start seeing that, that typically is right before you get kicked from the game. Meaning that the game's fixing to hiccup on you. We might be okay. It might salvage in. We'll see. And again, not really going to chase these things down. But there are about 4 or 5 ships. Go ahead and smack some of them down. Smack them around a little bit. May as well have it. It's a little off course, but it'll be alright. Tobacco. There it logged in. Well, we got lucky. I'm noticing more torpedoes here lately too. Now some of the ships, the torpedoes are getting nasty. Not always, but some of them do. You can see blood now. Used to you couldn't see any blood or anything when you'd fire at them. But now it does register a little bit of blood. But no, I've not been able to actually take one out. Not since the early beta days. My guess is, or from what it sounded like when they come out with the Hunters Guild, which is going to be a season 4 thing, that's when we're going to get to hunt a lot of that. Not just the large sea creatures, but all manners of mythical type stuff. What it's sounding like we're supposed to see some new additions coming into the game and stuff at the later stages. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But I remember back in the day these black rogues here, black hulled rogues. people were like complaining about them being too hard to level 10s. And now those things are just like just smoke way too early. Just right on down. They don't have a lot of strength to them. But yeah, there was a lot of folks. They was getting upset about those things coming up. They would hunt you around when you're picking up your pieces of 8. They would typically be waiting around your inlets, especially like around red isles as you come like through this pass here. After you make a completion and you go to turn up into St. Anne, there'd be 2 or 3 of them sitting there. And I can remember back in the day, people talk about how hard they were to beat. Never really had that issue personally, but it all comes in your ship builds. But you will notice that later stages, man, these ships, they start to add some extra oomph to their weapons. Just a couple weeks ago, if you come in tier 1 with a 15 ship, you didn't have any problems. Anything that they hit you, you didn't even have to brace. It wouldn't even scratch the ship. But now that they're boosting all of these ships that are actually been coming in, and I think part of what's going on, it's not just what's going on, but part of it is folks have been calling for them to rebalance your PvP. And it seems that the guys over in the Singapore division, the only way they know how to balance PvP is to completely nerf the game all the way across. A lot of your furnitures are now becoming obsolete. Like Mark of the Wolf doesn't actually boost anything on the front of the ship anymore. Used to, doesn't do anything now. So you can go in, you can test it with or without. You're not going to see a difference. Unfortunately, that's happening across the board with a lot of furnitures and even a lot of the aspects of your weapons. So I know that they addressed it in the deck, saying that they were aware that people were concerned that was going to happen. And it sounds like our concerns with that happening were rightly so, because they're aware of our concerns, but they didn't seem to take them into consideration when they decided to do it. So, like I say, that's a Singapore division thing. Don't let it deter you from the game and sticking with the game. Understand that Tencent Studios, they've got a vested interest in this game now, as does Microsoft. They both have invested into this game. And they're going to be working with those guys over there that don't seem to really know what they're doing, honestly. So right there, that's the quick pieces of 8. That is a quick way to get those 8s, guys. Always just smack them down. We also got some materials on the way there, too. They've got some little things if you want to get in your dhow. I do recommend doing your dhow if you're looking to have fun with sharks and stuff. Now, granted, it's not the same for those of you who played Black Flag. We would go out and we would spear like a shark or a whale or something, and they would drag you all over the ocean and stuff. Now, those days are coming. We're going to have a large ship that actually has a hunter dhow attached to the back of it, so we can say, we're going to hunt this location, and we're going to take out this whale, we're going to take out this, this shark or whatever. Those days are coming. We're not here yet. Unfortunately, that's going to be season 4 for what it sounds like with Hunters Guild, but it's going to be worth the wait, I believe. Okay, so now that we've got that, we're going to check. See what we got. We got another minute on that, so we can go ahead and dump our cargo here. And really just farming this stuff here, especially tier 1. Like I say, tier 2, you're going to get more materials and stuff. But the idea of being in tier 1 is you're going to be able to focus on bulk. Okay, that looks pretty good there. Now what I am going to do is, now that we're both in the same server, you can bump out a group like this, and this is going to scale everything back down. So now when I travel over here to Fangs of Fairy, instead of it taking 7 cannonballs to take them out, you can do it in 3 or 4. And people can show up to location to farm these things as well. And it's not going to scale your enemy up. That's the main thing to remember, is get everybody in server, don't travel in large packs, and it's going to help reduce the scale of the enemy ships. Now it looks like we'll have to deal with this privateer here. It's not too bad. Go ahead and get him out of the way. Grab some materials there. Now we should. Certainly we're going to get a buyout this time. Really no buyout? Wow, that's crazy. Now you can make, I think it's 450 on a defense. And it's up to you how you want to run that defense. Now I want to make sure that I lose my wanted level here. We're going to jump up here and run this defense real quick. It's going to give us a quick 450. I typically switch it to my sandbuck for this just for the nostalgia of it, but yeah, you don't have to. You can run it in whatever you want to. Your lunchtime is over. Time to get off your seat and your feet. You headed back into work, huh? Yeah, it happens. Take it easy there, Heavy Water. Appreciate you stopping in on your lunch break, man. Yeah, I had originally started some streams on Saturdays, or I'm sorry, Sundays, and that quickly became apparent that probably wasn't the best day to do those. Now we gotta look see where we're at here. We ought to be having some ships show up here any moment now. I must be on the wrong side of the line. Here we go. All that fog messes you up. Why are your helm upgrades locked? What's wrong with them? Sometimes it takes these things a minute to sink and you can't see the enemy you're shooting at, man. I must have aggroed that thing a minute ago. It just says they're locked. I'm not sure, man. I've not noticed anything locked. I have to look back in mine here in a minute. Are you out of pieces 8 or something, or? Yeah, most of the time if you run into an issue in game, you can reset, restart, and it should take care of your issues, but not always. All right. Must be on the back side of the island. You have over 4K. Not sure, man. Might have to post a screenshot up in Discord so I can see what it looks like it's doing. But I would definitely try and reset and see if that helps. Yours is locked too, huh? That makes me wonder if mine's doing anything weird here. Oh, are you accessing through the map menu, or are you accessing through the anchor menu in your own world? So if you're like holding your B button, I guess it'd be on Xbox. I'm not sure what it'd be on PlayStation. Like for a fast travel from a location, it'll show us a lock. A lot of times you can't actually get into your helm upgrade. You have to do that from the map menu. I'll show you what I mean after this. was wondering if it was another one of those boats. Surely he didn't sink out. There he is. That is the bad thing about the mortar. I do prefer the rockets personally, but I've been using this mortar here. I've been enjoying my Eye of Heaven mortar for certain aspects of the game, but you'll notice that if they get too close to you, you can't hit them. And that's also another thing of your smaller ships versus your medium-sized ships. And that's going to be another case of when they finally come out with large ships, your smaller ships, mediums for sure, but especially your small ships. They're going to be able to crowd the larger ships and just wear them out, and it's going to be harder for you to actually hit them and stuff. Something to be aware of. Everything has a weakness. Okay. Black Hobbit's made it back in. We got those campaigning screens, which is essentially what these armor plates are. I wish that it showed on our ships as well, like it does on these in the Hubok ships. Even the snows are starting to show that over in the DMC areas with the extra armor. So maybe that may be something different they're bringing into game later. I don't know, but I assumed that it was going to be the same for like the campaigning screens. We got a guy just sitting over here just. Going to kind of hang out, it looks like. I'll have to come right here and fish them out. Looks like we've got some sharpshooters in the area over here. We'll go deal with him real quick. Now these large ones, they will try to distract you from these smaller ships. These are usually what's actually shooting at your fort, taking away the health. Plus, they're also the ones that's going to do most damage to your ship, as you can see just happening. Got a helm rogue showed up. Glad he can make it to the party. Yeah, 36 seconds. Alright, we're going to go up here. Defense. I usually like to leave this where you're sitting there waiting on ships to show up, but hey, that got kind of a little bigger than usual. So you're trying to get your first snow to upgrade. Yeah, so there's a lot of folks that use the snow. I used it for quite a long time, honestly, and started to get into other ships and stuff. I like the looks of the snow probably over just about every ship in the game. So when you run a defense, you end up getting a nice little boost. These boosts used to last longer in Season 1 than they do here in Season 2. Oh, they got to pay attention on it. It's got something there. Looking at the other screen. Let that be a good lesson. Do not look at the other map until you know you're in a safe location. Here we go. But that's going to be bumping up your 8s, guys. Just running it out. I mean, as to how hard and how fast you can grind those, you can still, like I say, run Mega Fort here in Tier 1 as well. It's still lucrative. It takes maybe a third of the time it takes in Tier 2. Now you're not going to get a lot of those upgrade parts and stuff like we've got used to over there in Tier 2 over here. But you can get weapons and stuff to drop, and you can, potentially get some upgrade parts for that. But Sentry modules, Mastercraft kits, a lot of those things, those are going to be a Tier 2 item that you have to do to grind over there. But like I say, definitely be hitting in Tier 2 with groups of friends. And if you're looking for people to play with, definitely let me know. We'll get you Discord invites and stuff too. But there's almost always someone over there farming. A lot of times I'm usually on later in the evenings, not so much in the mornings. The reason for that is I like to use the headset, and during the evenings or early afternoons and stuff, I've got air conditions and fans on, and it's hard to hear me on a microphone, so I do most of my gaming stuff at night. Just for personal comfort, I like to be comfortable when I game. But yeah, there's a lot of great builds out there for snows, especially for running your sea monsters and stuff. A lot of folks still use those snows for that. I remember early days Patagon and snows. Those were some of the big fort ships that we used back before these super weapons started coming out. We used to have to get a whole crew of guys to come in, and we would start circling around like Fort Picasso or Fort Primi, stuff like that, and just come in and just make a night of farming those things. Now you can run them and just farm them individually if your ships are built up for it. Now, for those who are just coming into the game, it'll take you a little bit to get there. Don't let it frustrate you. Don't get too big of a hurry, because you want to enjoy your game as you go too. I'm going to run to the restroom real quick while I wait on this load in. Okay, so I'm going to reenact what some of the issues. Now, it's not always the issue, but I'm going to reenact some of the issues that you may be running into. So, if we go into this screen here, this is where we start off. If we go to fast travel and you tab over to your helm, your upgrade screen is going to be locked, as you can see by the little lock there. So that means you need to back out completely there. Once you're on this map or this section, you just open the map and your upgrade should be open. So if you're seeing a lock there, chances are while you're at dock, you've hit, looks like the anchor down there, you've hit this button and you've went to fast travel, and that's going to, when you tab over, have a lock on your upgrades. Typically that's what you're going to run into, but if going out and going just into the map doesn't get rid of that, then definitely make sure that you restart the game and see if that helps you with that. Now let's see what we're looking at here on our materials. Like I said, I wanted to, oh, did Hobbit make it back in game? And another thing, you can't bring up your friends list from that menu here, so you got to come in here. Looks like there is a request waiting. No, I'm not really sure who he is, but hey, if he wants to be a friend, I'll add him in there. So in the world, I think Hobbit made it back. Yeah, he's over here. Let's see what we're looking at here. Do we have a buyout? Nope, we got 2 minutes before our next buyout. We'll go ahead and jump into the helm real quick. Oh man, you got locked out of your account? That's horrible. What happened? Yeah, I've heard of other people getting locked out of their accounts on PCs. Is that becoming a common thing? I mean, I don't know. Grabbing those materials. Let's go ahead and snag some of this stuff here while we're in here. So we want our roving deals. And then I want the rogue cunts that are, well man, we had a bunch of rogue cunts over here a minute ago, but they're spread out everywhere now, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to deal with this first, then maybe our rogue cunts will show up and we can go that route. Yeah, as a point, when it comes like in-game chat, I keep it turned off. They're never really fully clear on some of their chat things. And I've known a lot of people that actually have lost access to their accounts because they've spoken in chat. Maybe they were talking about a build or something that, you know, or you know, you were in a PvP match with somebody. You know how it can get competitive and stuff. Then they end up losing their accounts and stuff over it. Now, I don't know if that's what happened to you, man, but I stay out of in-game chat just because it seems like it's too wishy-washy on what can be said versus what can't be said. You know, sometimes these game makers, they get a little overzealous with stuff. You know, when it comes to gaming, you're going to have smack talk. That's just the way it is. You know, but obviously you don't want to get like just straight up insulting people. But, you know, it happens sometimes. We're all adults. Well, everyone should be adults. This is a great and mature game, but it seems like we've been getting a lot more and more children into it here lately. But that is the Discord. Like one of the major things in Discord is 18 up. We don't have kids in here because, you know, we do have the adult conversation stuff, and that's why typically when I'm doing these streams, we'll have it where it comes in here into the this chat where we can do text chat in YouTube, because, you know, I don't really do a whole lot of moderators and stuff like that in my voice chat channels, but it can get pretty rough, you know, and I definitely don't want to be streaming that live and get kicked out of YouTube either. So it can happen. Don't want it to, so you just got to kind of go this route, allow the end functions for it. My understanding is it's just the frigate, so I'm not sure. Now they've mentioned some things where I guess in PvP there's going to be certain types of weapons and even ships that can be opened up. Now I don't know if that means blueprints or like it is this season where every ship in the game you can open one up. That's actually an inconvenience for people like me who have quite a few ships picking up. Hey, don't fill up your ships, guys, and then jump into PvP. Because if you have your 40 of 40, and then you turn around and you try to run PvP and they start giving you ships, it can actually cause you to lose ships and the stuff that's on them that you already have. So keep some open slots and delete the crap that you don't need as they're giving you those free ships in PvP. They were supposed to fix that last year where, if you got your 40 ships, then it was if you have right at the 40 of 40 that you would end up losing a ship. So they were going to fix that. And when they went to fix it, I ended up losing 2 ships. And I only had like 38 ships. I never was at them. And it took me forever to get one of my ships back. And the brigantine that I had lost, I never got it back. But did rebuild it. Sirius actually had quite a bit of materials and stuff and helped me get my stuff back up on that ship. And it can be frustrating because, as y'all know, there's a lot of work that goes into upgrading those things. And even back then, to level 13s, there was a lot of materials you had to get in there and grind out and all, and much like now. And we didn't have full access to the upgrade parts like we do now. You had to get, I think you could buy one an hour from, what's the name of this area here? Dubliet. And then once in a while you might get something that'll drop, and it was really frustrating. So it always comes in handy when you got, friends that you're in game with, and we always try to keep a lot of materials and stuff so we can help each other out if something happens like that. It's not quite as bad as it used to be. I don't think anybody's lost any ships this year from it, but there has been some situations where the ship will be there, but your cosmetics and even weapons disappear. So. And I've ran into that. Like, I'll fast travel from one location to another, and then when I get there, the cosmetics on my ship has changed, the sails have changed, the figureheads changed, the whole designs and stuff have changed. You go, what in the world's going on? So you get it all set back up, then you'll start playing it, all of a sudden all of it disappears again, and then you got to go back in and find your weapons and all, and that can be really frustrating. But it happens. It's typically if you're playing too close to a maintenance reset. So typically, if there's a scheduled maintenance, I don't get on anywhere near the time of the maintenance. Now, I did get on here this past week, and we played right up to an hour till, and I had some issues where, like, here in Tier 1, mind you, there was a harvester out here, and they just throw spears, by the way, and come sailing up. He aggroed, almost took me out with one spear chuck on a daggum level 1. So it just, here in World Tier 1, it was insane. In a level 15 ship, like, time to jump out. We're too close to maintenance. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to that kind of stuff. But all right, we're going to fast travel back over here to St. Anne real quick. Now, we could run this thing here again, but what's been happening is most of our stuff's been popping over there. We could go ahead and hit Fangsford, then we'll hit that one up north, and then we'll travel into St. Anne, and might have enough time to run more. Let's go try to run the stream for an hour and a half today. Last time, I think I was on here till 2 o'clock in the morning, which wasn't really the plan, but hey, sometimes you get to playing and not paying attention. How do I feel about the death tides? I think it shows promise. I'll put it at that. Now, obviously, anyone who's played it and was planning on playing it, we all have the Poison Garuda build. And yes, it's a OP build. You can smoke people from across the water. But the problem with it is everybody in game is using it. So you just end up with 2 teams, essentially, sitting up on each side of the map shooting at each other. And that will destroy that aspect of the game if they don't do something quick. Now, what I think the easiest way, in my opinion, to fix this, guys, is not for them to continue to nerf our weapons and our furniture. And I understand when they're doing that. If you come in here this season, since they did that back on Monday night, Tuesday morning, they nerfed a bunch of stuff. What they actually ended up doing is they turned a lot of the furnitures off that we've been using on our boats, and it affected it in PvE. That's how they remedied that. Now, that's what a lot of the PvE players were afraid were going to happen. They don't care about playing PvP, but they typically, to rebalance the game, they just basically make your weapons, your furniture, or your armor ineffective. And that's what they call balancing a game. What they need to do, in my opinion, and like I said, I'm not a programmer, but it's not a new concept. Have it so you can do custom PvP matches. You don't want poison, have it where you can turn poison off. Have it where you can turn electricity damage off. Have it where you can run it just a typical pirate ship shooting cannonballs at each other. Have those settings where you can adjust that thing. Problem solved. You set up your personal servers. Have it set up where I can bring 6 of my buddies, or well, 5 plus myself, into a match. You know, I can team up with 2 guys and jump in, but you have a 6 versus 6 lobby, so why can't I bring 5 extra guys and have a full team? You know, that's one of the things I would like to see them do in there. I think it's something they could do pretty easy. I think it would be a lot more effective than them nerfing our ships here in the game as well. I mean, like I said, I'm in tier 1. You've seen some of these ships in here. I mean, this is a level 11 ship that should be pretty much smoked after 1 shot. But they've made a lot of the weapons ineffective. Now, I am running some, well, I can't access it from this screen, but I am running some of the typical furnitures that are no longer effective, like Mark of the Wolf, which is supposed to adjust your reload speed on the front and rear cannons, but there's also some things that are supposed to adjust the shots damaging, you know, your Le Piquerets, you know, they've nerfed those way down here in PvE as well, mind you. They shouldn't affect the PvE thing. What they've ended up doing is they've boosted up Maggot Fort Houston on tier 2. They've boosted up the ships. Now you're seeing 19s and 20s coming in. Everything has the armor that basically heals with explosives. If you run this Captain Joka Kubwa, however you pronounce his name here, if you run him in tier 2, the ships that run with him are actually running the Hunter perk now. Now, mind you, we're not allowed to use the ultimates in PvE, but we're going to start letting NPC ships use the ultimates in PvE while they're nerfing that stuff. I'm sorry, they're boosting that stuff up, but they're nerfing our weapons. So that is one of the things I think right now that is going to be one of the biggest complaints in game. And I fully expect that probably come next Monday when they go to do this, we're going to be seeing something released in the helm here before too long. Those of you who are on Discord, we do have that set up where the in-game system, they come up and they can tell us, you know, hey, this is some of the fixes we're running. I fully expect that we're going to see that in the Discord here before too long. They're going to be talking about it, that they're going to be changing some stuff. So I think it shows a lot of promise in the aspect of it, but right now it feels kind of incomplete to me. Nobody wants to go in there and have a one-ship type of a game. You know, everyone wants to run Grutas, and that's fine. You know, I've got my Gruta build, and everybody's running the same stuff. The pick 3s, you know, of course, the LaFleur. Then we go in there and we're either using the Hunter perk or we're using the La Peste ultimate, where you can spread the poison all over the siege, you know. And it's fun, but it gets old pretty quick. And everyone wants to run their favorite ships. No one wants to just be stuck to just one ship and one type of build. So I think they're going to have to actually create a way to just come in there and make it so we can set up a custom match. And that's really the easiest way to do this thing, man. Debuffing or, you know, nerfing our stuff here in game, that's not the answer. All that's going to do is make people mad. I mean, it's made a lot of folks mad. You know, I try to remain positive in the game. You know, obviously we all get frustrated at times, but one of the biggest things I see that they're the same mistake they made last year is they start nerfing your ship builds because there's some folks who aren't able to compete with it, or because there's an aspect in it where it becomes too OP in another aspect of the game. So like PvP, which used to be just a flag system, and they still have that, by the way. You can take your flag off or put your flag on. They went through and they nerfed a bunch of those weapons in the past. So, but it carried over into PvE, and that's what makes people mad. Is when, okay, for PvP that's fine, but when I go against a ship that's an NPC, you've buffed them, but you've made my weapons weaker, or you've crippled some of my furniture. So I'm going to show you a couple of the furnitures now that are currently right now not working. So, Mark of the Wolf is supposed to trigger a blaze effect on target's shell shock charge rate by 100% for 10 seconds, increasing the fire rate of explosive weapons by 20% and increases damage structure by 5%. This furniture is not currently working. There's, let's see, the one for your broadside ramrod workshop, decreasing the reload time of broadside weapons. It's not working because people were using it with the Picker A3 builds over on the PvP server. So their answer to it was to just turn it off. Now, I'm not taking it off by ship because they're going to turn it back on. There's too many people complaining about it. But that's one of the things that's happening with the brigantines, like I think it's called the Iron Capstan or something like that, lead kettle and stuff. There's some flooding features. They actually took it and nerfed those to rebalance in PvP, but it ended up turning it off here in the PvE arena area as well. So they're going to have to figure that out. Like I say, they need to just turn our weapons back on and our furniture back on, and they need to just create where they have an option to come in here and say, you know what, set up a custom match. That's all you got to do. If you want to turn off your specialty damages like your poisons and your electricities and stuff, or even like fancy effects like the ablaze effects and stuff, now I wouldn't recommend doing that because that's some of your builds, such as your sloops and your sandbucks. That's what sets them apart. So they could have those things, and just because it has, say, the ablaze effect or an explosion, there's a lot of things that are negative aspects about using those types of ships. Like the sandbuck, you got to get really close to. It's more of a glass cannon, so you're not going to have those high hull healths and things. So I think they could salvage it. But what do you think about the new Death Tides there, Rick? I mean, that's really what matters, is what the gamers feel about it. I know for me, I think it shows promise, man, but I just don't know that it's going to become, one of those real big items. I think it's going to be one of those things that's kind of a pastime in the game. Now, the only thing that'll keep it going is if they have specialty ships that the only way to earn certain types of ships, certain types of weapons is to do that in PvP. Now, I do believe they would be messing up if they go that route. But, we'll have to wait and see what Ubisoft thinks. Like I said, that's just my opinion on it, I don't really get to make any decisions. They send us these cards to ask, for our feedback. And I usually try to get feedback from all of our viewers here because, I definitely want to hear about it. Says your sandbuck isn't a glass cannon. No, I like my sandbuck. It works pretty good, but throw that thing in tier 2 over there at the Mega Fort right now, and it gets kind of ugly. So we could, that's buying. I don't want to buy anything. I think I want to run a few forts. I want to get a few fort plunders in. Got a Hairmow. We got we'll save that one for later. Oh, we got a couple of Oostins. Might as well grab them both. So I'll go ahead and bring up my sandbuck here and show you what I got here. Now this, I use this one mostly for crowd control. It's not effective against forts. I mean, it can take down a wall, but it's not going to be a 1 or 2 shooter like the other ship that I'm using, my schooner here. But one of my favorite weapons in the game was the Phoenix Talons. When it came out, you get that 18 shot, landing 18 hits in a single volley, instantly dealing 1888 burning damage, which then caused the blaze effect to really trigger off. You have your provoking, then of course burning 2, incendiary, amplified burning, and then we have death blow attached to that. It's fully ascended weapons. I like those. Fire bombard. I did add one that has a. Let's see, where's it at? Soul mending on it. And I actually kind of like having that on that left-sided ship. I typically keep that one pointed toward my larger ships and stuff. That way, while I'm hitting them, I'm getting that soul mend. It's double, so you're getting that almost 13% heals coming back towards you. That's a pretty nice thing to have on there. Then, of course, running that Warhammer 3 with all electric on there coming in. We do have precision patchwork, which is going to restore 201 severe damage to your ship because, you can take some damage on there. And then fire bombard 3s, which are a lot of fun as well. We've added shock and amplified burning with a second storm effect to it. I do enjoy using my sandbuck, but like I say, it's one of those things where For what I'm currently doing now, I use my sandbuck when it comes time for defenses, usually just for nostalgia purposes. The current ship I'm in runs it just fine. But I have a couple schooners. So I have a Divine Wind set up, which is what the Divine Wind bombards. I still use my River Rat, which is my sloop. And I have Fire Bombard 3s that are been fully ascended on those. And of course, we've got the Garuda's build here. I think I actually pulled off my LaFleur and was using it on something else the other day, but got to re-put that on there. But yeah, it's one of those things I just kind of like, yeah, play around. I like to change it up a little bit. I've reached the maximum number of treasure maps. Like I said, I don't typically bother with treasure maps. Let me bring that up here. I'll show you how to get rid of treasure maps if you don't know. So you can come in here and you can info and destroy, if that's something you want to do. Now, the really old treasure maps, they can be worth doing. I don't typically mess with these just because I don't really get anything out of them of any use. Use for me, I guess I should say. So we got a Fort Plunder. This one here is for Preemie. So I guess we'll do Hairmouth first. Be right up here. Then we'll run us a Preemie and then we'll go down to the Houston. Hey, what's up there, bees? Discovered channel last night. Been watching everything. Oh, cool. Well, I'm glad you've been able to learn some stuff on it. Been trying to put out a lot of helm material. Like I say, this is one of those things that's ever expanding and ever learning. It's changed a lot since the first season, so, or the first year, really. And it's been a lot of fun experimenting around, seeing what works. And, you know, everybody's kind of got their own preferred methods, but seems to be working for me so far. So I hope, hope it continues to help people and definitely get people interested in the game for sure. Did you have a Death Tide quest now but never done one? A quest? What is the quest? You're level 9, just started the game. Any tips? Well, stick to the storyline for now. If you're wanting to look for quick rank, get up with, let me bring up this feed here and I can give you a, well, I need to, I guess, technically grab a Discord invite and put that up. But typically what we do is we bring people over into Tier 2 and we'll farm Houston, or even Tier 1. We'll jump in and farm some forts. That's going to give you some real quick rank. But the main thing is sticking to the storyline to begin with, learning the aspects of it, and then you're going to be coming into your ship upgrades. And the best way to start off with your ship upgrades is to be farming in groups, because you're going to need pieces of 8, you're going to need upgrade parts, and you're going to need, see what it's called, ascension parts, and then you're going to need those mastercraft parts as well when you finally get to the final stage of it. And World Tier 2, a lot of people jump straight into it. Even before they're really ready, they just kind of sit idly by and they'll gain rank real quick, build their first level 15 ship, then they can come back in and start farming a lot of stuff. But really following the storyline to begin with is your best bet, and finding what type of ship you want to use. I still use small ships a lot of times too, depending on what it is that I'm doing in game. But there's no quick tip as far as the quick way to get things done. There's just stick with it is the main thing I can tell you, is to continue to stick with it. I popped up a Discord link there for those who haven't had a chance to join the Discord. There's usually me, or there's usually somebody online. You could just quote in on, inside the feeds that you're looking for a group, and you're going to be able to find groups to come in and farm with pretty quick. So one of the things that I do like to do and like to show people is, what did we do? There we go. Doing forts. If you're looking for quick XP to run through the pass and you're just starting in the game, quick XP, if you start, say you start up here at the Great Yakuta and you travel up through these passes, you're going to run into towers. There's going to be towers all up along the little pathways here. Each of those towers that you take out are going to give you 100 points. Now, for every 10 towers you destroy is going to give you, obviously 1,000 points, which equates to a smuggler token. Now, this is where the magic happens, the smuggler pass. You have quartermaster, gunnermaster, and shipmaster. Yes, you want to run all three. So you need 90 tokens. Now, you don't have to buy the ultimate, which basically just gives you extra, cosmetics. But you're also going to get a few extra things as well, such as, some upgrade parts, refinement packs and stuff like that. You could end up getting some let's see, you'll get your weapons automatically. You'll get furnitures. You won't get the gold, the premium golds and stuff. You won't get all the cosmetics. You'll get some, but not all. But so it's up to you. Is it worth the premium? I think it is, but it's up to you if you want to do premium for that. But you got to get all three of these done to qualify for the extra rewards. If you look at the top, it says all rewards redeemed there on the top left in that silver box. When you spend 45 tokens, you in the past, I don't know how it's going to be going into season 2, but currently, once you spend 45 points, you get whatever that season's blueprint is for a ship, which is the schooner right now. So if you're looking for the schooner, you need to be hitting this pass to get that schooner ship. You're going to get the blueprint for free. Once you get up to 45 points spent, the quickest way to earn those is to jump into farms. So that's what I say farms is finding an area that you can effectively take with your ship level. It may be simply coming up through Africa and taking out towers. It could be taking the towers out, whether it's a tower over here in Africa, a tower over here in the Red Isle, a tower over here along the Port Royale area. This is going to be a lot of your campaign royale, or a tower over here in the DMC zones, or even up here in your Rempa zones. It's going to pay you 100 points. Now, if you're taking out massive walls like what you have over here at Mega Fort Houston, you're getting a lot more XP on that, or infamy is what they call it. That's going to get you through that pass like really quick. And all you got to be is teamed up with somebody, be part of their team, get you a shot in. But anything I blow, like if you're traveling with me, anything I destroy, blow up, sink, you're going to get credit on it. You're going to get some points on it. That's a real quick way is to travel in teams with guys that have a lot of stuff. You'll be noticing sometimes when you're playing as you start to level up, that you'll just randomly get someone who joins up to you. Well, that's what they're looking for, some quick points. So that would be a big thing to do there. So get the Garuda to start doing the storyline. There's a lot of folks that use the Garuda. To me, it's more of a PvP ship. I personally would advise something more like a brigantine or even a snow. I mean, for the storyline, the Garuda is okay, but I don't really use it. I mean, PvP I use it, but it's still not my favorite ship. It's got some good aspects to it, but it has no steering to it. When you're at full speed, you can't hardly steer that thing. It's basically like shooting an arrow from a bow, and it's got one direction, that's straight ahead. So that's my big gripe with that ship. But it's okay. If that's what you want, it's the Groot. I think it's at Blackwood right now. You can pick it up from him for bars, if I'm not mistaken. To me, the schooner's the more superior ship from the aspect that you're going to be able to do forts and stuff with it. It's got a lot more stuff you can do with it, like a sandbuck. You can do a lot of crowd control with ships. I wouldn't recommend using those weapons to try and take out the fort walls over there at Houston. Over at Houston, simply because if you put on a weapon that's going to be taking out walls, then you're really missing out on a lot of the ability that ship has, and ship-to-ship battles as well. So, but there's really not a one-stop shop when it comes to ship. There's just what's best for what you like the best. The best boat. Well, at your level, what is your current rank? Are you, when you say you're a 9, are you a Kingpin 9 or just a rank 9? Because that's going to depend on a lot of the ships that you can use. But I'll be honest with you, for what you're doing for the story mode, let me look here. We'll pull off forts and I'll show you what this ship here can do real quick. So this is a sloop. This is actually a small ship. And if you're wanting a ship that's going to be great all the way around, for a lot of stuff, this is the ship I would highly recommend. Let me make sure I've got everything set up on it. It's been a little bit. Okay, I'm not entirely sure what that great gun is on here. And I'm not worried about using that. We're going to put that one there on. So this is the sloop. This is what I like to use on it. I use fire bombard all the way around. Fire bombard 3s all the way around. And then for my auxiliary weapon, I use what's called a war hammer. It is a rocket type. Now, it's not to be mistaken with like the termites and the rocket 3s. These are more for doing walls. This is more for doing ships, but they do a great job against walls too, and they have a higher damage output. But I'll show you what this small ship can actually do here. This is a fully upgraded ship, and it's one of my favorite boats in the game. Now, I don't use it too much against walls. It can be used against them. You know, it's just more of a ship blaster. But if you're starting off in the game, once you get the Fire Bombard 3, I don't recall where you can buy that blueprint. But if you come in here, I'm going to show you. If you go to this map screen, you can tab over to the codex. It says knowledge tab. It looks like a book up there. And then you have codex will be the first option. You're going to go in here. You're going to look at your weapons. And you're going to look at top deck weapons because it's a bombard. And you're going to look for the Fire Bombard 3. And it will tell you over to the side you can track where to get that. Now, it's going to require you to be a higher rank, and you're going to have a certain rank of your ship as well. So you may have to start with the 1s or the 2s. So go ahead and get all 3 of those prints as soon as you can, and that's going to get you started on that. But the reason you want to use that is this ship actually has a really good ability to it. We'll bring that up, show you what it looks like. Wrong button. So this actually, it works off, it's a DPS, and it works off of explosive weaponry. So any weapon you put on there, you want it to be an explosive perk. That's going to match with the explosive on this ship here. It's going to give you 50% chance of triggering an explosion, which deals a 1,500 point damage blast, radius of 150 meters. Now that's a great ship to use. Now this one here, and then of course there's also the barge, and I don't have one of those currently upgraded. Let me go show you it over here. But you can use that to completely go through the entire story mode on the game pretty easy. But understand, you can use the Padawan, the Snow, or even the Brigantine. They're all great ships. As far as a ship that's just one ship in the game, you know, that's going to change throughout the season. I used the Sandbuck for a long time. That's all I used last year. I've been really enjoying the schooner here lately, mainly because most of the stuff that I do building the helm requires me to do a lot of forts, and you get a lot of really good siege weaponry perks to using that ship as well. So let's go over here, and I can just show you some ship types over here. So we have a Hulk. This is more of a hauler. It's just a tank class. You have the Sentinel class. This here is going to help repairs. The Firebrand, which is known as a barge. This has Firestorm perk, which is basically going to send out a big blaze, effect. It's going to be 125 meters. That's going to send out a blast wave to really set ships on fire stuff. Now that's basically a smaller version of this ship here called the Sandbuck. It's a Pyromaniac class. This is the one I used for a long time. A lot of people call it a glass cannon. It works fine for me. I've never had really any major issues. Now as the pass progresses, you're going to see it's a little more struggle, and you got to kind of tweak your build a little bit. But for me, a lot of folks still use the Brigantine. It's one of the fastest ships. Actually, it may actually be the fastest ship in the game. But with that, it also has kind of a shallow hull class. Not quite as bad as the Sandbuck. I mean, you're looking at 35,000 versus 40,000. It used to be a hog on food as far as just consuming the amount of food you had to, you know, but they've actually debuffed that, so it's not as bad. My opinion, though, if you're looking for a great all-around ship, is the schooner. You're going to want to come in and just do as many missions as you can, spend those points, those 45 points, get in the schooner. You're getting a lot of broadside attacks. You're getting the Fury perks and stuff on here as well. It's going to give you some boost where, let's see here. It says turning every barrage into an explosive reaction. It wreaks havoc on fleets and structures. So you're getting those structure boosts as well. Increasing damage to structures by 50%. So what I did with this ship here is, because I'm getting that damage on that ship, just like I did here with my little sloop that I showed you here, whenever you're running a schooner, you want to run a weapon that has perks that's going to match it. So it does good with explosives, but it gives you a little bit of a perk toward using against your structure. So here you've got unison and explosive 3. That's the base off this. So I've added dire explosives. I went ahead and added siege, which is giving me another 30%. So I'm getting a 50% boost against walls. That's why I can 2-shot a wall. You can almost single shot every wall here in tier 1. You can double shot them in tier 2. Severity, you're going to have, you can actually, I want to roll something other than the severity perk, I think, on this thing. That was just a really crud roll on it, so I'm going to actually have to re-roll another one up. But we've got that severity on this one here as well. And those were kind of like some second best. This one here's got a second storm. I'm just playing around, wanted to try that shock perk on it. I do like to have the shock with the second storm effect. That is off of the right hand side of my ship. I'm sorry, the rear of the ship. This is a Bombard 5. It's not an actual Dardanelle. But I did add that siege perk on there for an additional 36% as well. So it works pretty good. I've got an Eye of Heaven. The reason I run electricity with this ship off the back end and on my auxiliary is because when I'm in tier 2 and I'm soloing over here at the Mega Fort Houston, they will put out a ship that actually heals with its armor if you're shooting it with explosive weaponry, like what I'm using on this ship. For the most part, it'll heal that ship. So you got to hit it with something else. So what I do is I use this. It's got Tempest Effect. It's got your electric. It's got amplified explosive, but it's got different types of materials and things that you can do. But the main thing is you're shooting this thing with that Wild Thunder with lightning arc. So it's getting that. Then off the rear end, we're getting those Bombard 5s with that shock perk and a second storm. So that's helping to take those smaller ships out. It's rare, but you can get that reactive armor here in tier 1 as well. So you got to really kind of watch for those. If you're shooting a ship and all of a sudden you see its health going the other way, there's not a healer in the area healing that ship, then you are the one healing it. You need to switch your weaponry. So always carry something that's a non-explosive perk. You could have a small amount of explosive to it, but make sure it dominates on another explosive or another type of a damage on there. Now, a lot of folks will use poison all the way around because they don't even want to risk doing the explosives, which is where a Garuda comes in handy, I guess. But I like extra DPS stuff on there. The Garuda is a fine ship. I don't know that would be my one and only ship, though. I wouldn't say that any build is going to be where you just want just one type of ship in the game. But if you're looking for a great all-around ship in the medium holes, the Schooner's been doing a great job for me so far. Now, if you're wanting to just focus on a small ship, then I like the sloop. There's a lot of people that like the barge, and you can't really go wrong with either one. For the barge, great weapons would be the explosive demi cannons or the Zama 3s. It's called a Zama, and you can get that blueprint from Yanita, I believe is who it was. But again, you can go to your knowledge tab, go to the codex. I can't really tell you where to get those weapons anymore. The reason I can't tell you where to get the weapons is because I already have them, so it's not going to show me where to get those. Now, the Zama 3, let me find that for you here. Demi cannons. This thing, because it's a blue weapon, you actually are going to get a purple perk to go with that. If you use a purple weapon, you'll get 2 blue perks with it. If you're using a green weapon, you'll get a purple perk with those as well. So, and then of course your white weaponry, you can get 4 upgrades on these things as well on a Demi Cannon 5. I didn't see a point in order, in messing with this too much. It does have, close range, deadly shrapnel type stuff, more of a shotgun type of a thing. But for me, the Zama 3s were one of my favorites for the longest time. And then of course the Phoenix Talons, when they come out, I've been having a blast with those. You do have Foul Owl. I've used those not real heavy into it. It's got piercing 3 for those of you who like piercing damage up close, and it ricochets around, dealing 30% of the damage around. Then of course these client Cartois, or however you pronounce this, guys. But it has imminent bang. Now the problem with this right now, like I say, is you have a lot of that reactive armor that's healing with these effects. So it'll cause that delayed response, but then it's going to end up healing the heck out of that ship. So I've got it set. I've got it fully upgraded. I'm not really using it right now. I'm waiting to see what ends up happening in game, because they gave us a new weapon to earn, but it's one of those things where they turned around and made it where it was ineffective. So come season 2, I expect it's going to maybe gain some more popularity. Same thing with a lot of the Divine Thunders and things like that was originally first come out. People didn't have much of a use for it, but since they've been slowly rolling out new furnitures and stuff, it's giving it more of an active base. I expect to see some of these other weapons coming in. So I've been using this schooner since I will say probably the second or third week of year 2. Before that, I used the sandbuck on everything, and the Discord lead was using it, and I started seeing just how effective this thing was. So I'll show you, here's why I used it against it. Now, I don't recommend that you go try this. I mean, you can, but I don't recommend that you get disheartened, because you're going to see something that you're not going to be able to do in any of your ships that you're using right now. If you're using, say, a brigantine or something like that, even if you're using a Mons Meg 3, which is a weapon that is made just for structures, it's not going to do good against ships. This thing does good against ships, and it does good against structures. You're going to find I'm able to actually come around and just completely smoke this entire fort with just one single pass. Now, what I'm fixing to do here, it takes me a little bit to get out here to see, guys. I apologize for the game's slow cutscenes. That's the one thing I wish we could do without, is like turn cutscenes off on the game. I think would actually make it a little more stable in servers. Most games that have so many cutscenes, that's why you run into the issues that you run into. And I've made that suggestion to Ubisoft. But like I said, I'm a player like y'all. they send out the content stuff for what they call content creators, and they give us information about what's coming in the game. I don't report too much on a lot of that stuff, because what I ran into in season 1 is they would tell us this is what's coming out. Go ahead and get your videos ready, and then they would say, okay, you can release your video now. So we'd release the video, and then it would turn right around and they wouldn't even release the content they said it was going to release right last second. They decided to hold it back. So a lot of this stuff that we're actually getting here in year 2 was actually supposed to be last year's content, but they gutted it out and put it on year 2. So just being completely honest, but it is great content. It gave people a chance to build up. Like I say, we had an entire year that was called Rise of the Kingpins. Now, for those who are just coming into it, the name of this first season is Ascent into Chaos. And that's basically what you're facing, is all of the up-class ships. These things are trying to compete with our current level. I mean, we're in level 15 ships. And y'all are having to compete against those ships that are trying to compete with us now. And we're essentially what the Kingpin bosses were that we had to fight. So now you're not only having to fight these large level ships there, but a lot of times I've noticed there's a lot of people running these hostile takeovers, which is what you use to build your content here. I'm headed the wrong way, guys. I apologize. I got turned around here. Yeah, I recommend a schooner to new players and old players. Like I say, I use that sandbuck the most, man, and it ran into when you would run forts back in the day. Like I say, we needed teams, and I used the sandbuck for crowd control, dealing with the ships while other people dealt with those walls and stuff. And I typically kept a Mons Meg on the back end of it to help take out walls, but it would take massive fleets in order to deal with this stuff. So as you can see, like a level 7 ship, should it be able to do that kind of damage to a level 15? Probably not. But that's what they've buffed those up. And now y'all are coming in with these new ships that aren't even like level 10s yet. And y'all are having to deal with what they've done in game. And that's like I say, just stick with it. If you need to travel with the crew, definitely join up in the Discord. You know, add me on your friends list and hop in. Like I said, all I ask is if you hop in the server with me, let me know where you're at. I don't have in-game chat turned on, so it's best to join up on the Discord if you're looking to reach me. And let me know that you've come in, that you want to farm up. And hop into voice chat. We'll coordinate where I'm headed. Even if you're not someone who likes to talk, I'll tell you where I'm headed. Or if it's something you're needing help with, let me know. And at least we have some kind of a dialogue. Because I do, like I say, I do not use the voice chat in game. I know way too many people that's been banned from this game because they got excited in a battle and they ended up beating someone and they made on, I don't call it being a sore winner, just you're excited because you won, and actually get banned from it for getting too excited, I guess is what the best way to put it is. So that's just one of those things. I think that's a Singapore thing. I don't really believe that's an Ubisoft thing. But okay, so it starts your plunder, and again, if you try to run this, you got level 14 walls. You're probably going to have some issues running this in your ship right now, but as you can see, we're just coming along and we melt the walls. This is the schooner. This is the schooner perks. It holds up pretty good against walls. Now, in Tier 2, they've kind of realized what we were doing with this. They have boosted the walls a little bit. It takes 3 to 4 shots to take a wall out on Mega Fort Houston now, which still is not bad because it used to take an entire crew of guys. We would have probably 10, 12, even 20 of us, and we would be circling a fort. This is actually one of the forts we used to circle, and we would go around and around and around, and we would waste so many cannonballs, and if you didn't have at least 10 people farming it and attacking this fort, you were unable to finish the plunder, and you would just waste cannonballs. So now, as you can see, we just made a pass and the walls are down. So now what we're doing is we're just waiting on some ships to show up. And the same cannon that works against walls is going to work great against ships. If we get a crowd, the back end, I'm using a Bombard 5. It's got second storm on it, and it will actually give a electrical storm that'll jump from ship to ship, causing damage. The same thing with that Eye of Heaven I just launched down there. And my recommendation is to keep moving, keep going in a circle. You can turn straight into them if you want to or whatever. I mean, everyone has their preferred method. Now, maybe you want to turn around and meet them head on and then continue to head on in with them. What you're watching for, though, is you want to watch for a sharpshooter. What it looks like is just a little bitty ship, looks like a little midget ship out there. And it's going to have a red, almost looks like a part of a clothespin off the back end of it, a little sharpshooter, and they will single shot you, even in Tier 1 sometimes. And watch out for the DMC snows. They're going to try to ram you. That is a great ship, by the way, the snow. A lot of people like using the bark because it has self-heals on it. But I am a DPS through and through. I love the DPS builds, always have, in every type of MMO I play. And this is why, because whether you're taking out a wall or you're taking on these large ships, you're not going to have a problem with it. Now, will you be able to do that with a non-ascended weapon? Not quite as effective, but this ship, because it does boost those weapons automatically off the broadsides, it's going to help you quite a bit. Even with the current nerfing that they've done to some of the furniture, this is still a great build, so I'm not going to change too much on it. I did play around with some ideas, where you can sit in port and gain a ability to fire a little bit stronger and maybe catch a little bit more rounds that reduce damage coming in, and it works, but it's just not me. I can't sit still like just sitting here waiting on the ships to come. It's not me. I like to actually turn into them, face them, and just take the ship out. Now, a Brigantine's a great ship for that too. A lot of people, if you like flood builds, you have that big ram horn off of it. Electric Dragon Boss. Yeah, so there was actually a couple of them. There was the Heir to the Throne, I think it was called, and I forget now. There was the Younger Dragon and an Elder Dragon. Now, I imagine they'll be coming back in here pretty soon. There's an event. We'll bring up that calendar here in just a minute to show you where to find those. But make sure this guy's down before I switch screens here. Yeah, so when you come over here to the seasonal calendar, looks like, let's see, sea monsters are going to be coming back. It says Jaws of Death, sea monsters, plural. So the Jaws of Death originally was Lestari, but we've had him. So I imagine we're going to start seeing more of the sea monsters coming in during this time here. You're also going to have pirate lords coming back in as well. So I imagine we're going to see the sea monsters that was associated with them. But before that comes in, we have Double Infamy coming up this weekend. Definitely make sure we're going to be in here farming for that. In fact, I recommend I'm going to hold an event. Join me in Discord. I'm going to post up an event for, say that's why you don't switch screens, because you can get sunk. Not a big deal. And there's the sharpshooter. I'm glad that actually happened. So that's the level 15 sharpshooter. Y'all should not be facing that in tier 1. That's insane. If it can single shot a level 15 ship, like I said, I'm not complaining. I usually watch for them, but I switched screens. That was my bad. But y'all shouldn't have to be facing that right now over here. If you're in a level 9 and you come up, back in the day, level 9 is about when you were coming over into this area. And you're coming into this area as a level 9, and all of a sudden you've got ships that are single-shotting our ships, and then you've got to face it. That's just, it's not really fair to you guys. I don't think they thought this thing through. There is a creator, for sure, one creator. I don't really watch a lot of other creators, guys. Not because of anything against them. It's just I like to focus on my own content without any kind of outside influence on it. But they're constantly calling for nerfing of weapons and ships. Your weapons and ships, not the enemy, but your stuff. And why they do that, I think is just more or less for response. But I don't really know. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But always brace up whenever they shoot at you. The thing about the brace, though, is your brace only works for actual damage. It doesn't work against any cell damage. It doesn't work against your piercing as much. A little bit. There's some armors and furnitures and stuff that you can do to help with that. The big thing, though, is that little sharpshooter. You got to keep an eye out for him. So if you see a ship that says 15, make sure you take him out first. The reason you want to do that is chances are he's a broadsider or he's a sharpshooter. Or even the grenadiers, they will rain havoc down upon you. And of course these helm ships, they're out here mainly because I was provoking the helm earlier. That is one of the things you'll have to look forward to if you play with me, is I keep a death level one with the helm against me all times. The reason I do that is because I get those free helm materials when I sink them. Brace up when they bump into you. He's going down. I think another sharpshooter just entered, or it might have been a broadsider. Yep, sharpshooter. Like I say, got to keep an eye on them. See, even the rogues are starting to send sharpshooters in. And they're actually starting to heal these helm rogues, that's a new one that's just started happening the last couple of days. So the game aspect's changing. That's one of the things you got to really watch. And I think it has to do with the types of events you're running. And, it keeps the game challenging so it doesn't get, stale or anything like that. But it does make it difficult for some of the newer folks coming in. Because y'all are having to run into a lot of new stuff that even us who've been playing this thing for a while, we just not really encountered until here recently. Now, one of the things I do recommend if you're running any kind of farming against forts and stuff is the Ouroboros armor. It's a great PvE armor that's player versus environment. You can come in and play against all these NPC ships and stuff. Sharpshooter out there trying to smoke this again. It does a great job of healing the permanent damage, which is that red line there on my health. So that's a broadsider there, and he's just as deadly as that sharpshooter. The large ships, they're not quite as bad. You get a lot of mortars from them. They're called a grenadier, and they'll mortar the crap out of you, but you can brace against those things pretty good. It's the piercing damage coming from these smaller ships that is so just devastating to you. Now they do have armors that help with piercing, but understand it's not going to be 100% piercing. It just more or less negates like 20 to 25%. There's a blighted spring loader that actually works pretty good to give you a little extra protection. We'll probably put that on just so you can see what it is. That, or you can use a healing spring loader, which is going to heal your ship without having to use your heal kits and stuff. You don't get that 60-second cooldown and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so that electric dragon, I don't know when he's going to be back. You can get the dragon claws though, the electric claws. You can pick them up at Lenitra if you're farming your basics. See how that broadsider knocked the crap out of me there? They're nothing to play around with. Wow, what a tough 13. Make sure he's down for the count. We do have a base here on the backside on this wall here we got to take out. There we go. Like I say, Tier 1, you didn't used to have that stuff coming in here, but it could be because a lot of people started coming down here to farm this thing. I'm not really sure. We came out of Tier 2 when they started the buffing and changing all of our weapons and stuff, and it seems like Ubisoft across this board has just really been ramping things up. Now, while it does keep it interesting, it can be a game killer. I've seen a lot of new folks actually come in that was enjoying the game, but then they've just quit, like can't compete. We'll try it back at the beginning of Season 2. And I've seen that happen, unfortunately. I think it was Season 3 last year. I'd just come out of surgery and stuff and come in, and we had reached about the halfway point when things really start to ramp up in the season. And I took the rest of the year off. I didn't really come back until about 3 or 4 days before the start of Year 2 content. And I thought I was going to be so far behind, but really I wasn't too bad. It ended up catching up, and I've probably not just caught up, but exceeded where some of the folks are at that continue to play, especially within the helm. But like I say, being retired does have a few perks to it. All right. So again, sharpshooters. Save mortars for that. I usually use a spring loader that heals. But man, I've been running into so many of these sharpshooters I've switched. I wanted to make sure I've got something for some electric damage there. Then of course your fire bottles, you can throw that and that's going to keep from healing. He'd have healed up right there. That blue damage is where he'd have healed up to if we had it took him out just then. Now this used to be a sit and wait level over here. I haven't ran this since the maintenance update on Monday night, Tuesday morning. So as you can see, it's a full-time little battle here at this fort. But that's why I use the schooner. If you were in, a Garuda, you would definitely have been sunk several times. It doesn't have the whole health that this ship even has. But like I said, I got popped a couple times. Once I wasn't paying attention, let too much stuff on the water. That was my fault. I should have been paying attention. And you never go into another scrape when you're doing a fort, because the game will sense it and it'll send some really nasty stuff your way. I might put that shock perk on that other dart, mainly because it does such a great job. Oh, we got some more helm ships over here. Now you may be wondering what brought those is. When I was playing earlier and I just went and hit this liaisons that I was supposed to sell the pieces of 8 to, that's what caused these guys to show up. It gives you a wanted level or mark for death. But like I say, I usually like to keep that on there. They have changed the ships that are typically coming in. I'm seeing a lot of sharpshooters again. So I hope that answered your question there, Nawaf. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Schooner. That's the way I would go right now. Then of course going into season 2, we'll have to see what that frigate's going to look like. But the schooner is a great all-around ship. I would recommend getting it because you're going to be running the pass anyway, and you're earning that XP. And once you get that materials, you're going to be sitting pretty good. Now, after you run that plunder, it should have got rid of our aggros. What they said they was going to fix, it did not fix that. So, again, watch for sharpshooters on the way out of the area. The large ships, you can jump around those. It's not too bad, but you're going to want to watch for those little sharpshooters because they'll try to get you on the way out. All right, so that got that. Let's find a support. I'm going to pop in over here. Now that Fort Preemy, that should have been a real quick slap and done. As you see what it turned into, they've really started to boost a lot of these forts, mainly because we've been using them to grind our helm. And the game is trying to slow you down. If it seems like it's trying to slow down your progress, it's because it is. This is in-game content now, and used to every season we had to redo our helm. And we would actually get more pieces of 8 paid out to us and stuff. So what they've done is they've stopped with the resets of the helm, and it's going to be one of those things where once it's completed, and you don't have to do it again. At least that's what they're saying. Knock on wood. We're going to see if they stick with the word. The fact that I've started seeing helm leases dropping, and I already have a completed helm as far as all my locations are called. That's got a little. I've got a little concern there to see what's going to happen going into season 2. You know, I haven't voiced too much about that yet, but that seems to be. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. Then there was some concerning things in the deck, if you called it. If not, right at the end of the deck, there was a question about the large ships. They wanted to verify for sure and see if they were going to confirm on there that yes, the large ship, the frigate's coming in season 2. Now that has been the stance since the release of year 2 here. They've got a lot of roadmap images out where what we're getting over the next few days or the next few seasons and stuff. And season 2 brings the frigate. Then of course we're getting a corvette. We're getting a new hunter's dhow, and season 4 with the hunter. What's it called? Hunter's Guild. Then we're going to be getting a new system called territorial capture, which is going to be this northern area, which is in season 2 you have to take an oath of war, either your DMC or your campaign royale. Now if you choose DMC, yeah, you can still come up here and you can still farm these forts just like when you own them now. But every time you come over here, if you're DMC, every ship in every territory you run near, it's going to have a natural aggro towards you on this side. Or if you choose campaign royale, anything you come to over here is going to have a natural aggro towards you as well. So, but yeah, you can still plunder your areas, but you're going to have a mega fort type situation up here, which is where the game's really going to start to shine for those who are still here. But when you're looking at any of your territories, you can see like we can pull in pieces of 8, but now suddenly we can make plate glass, we can make worm drives, we can make sheet glass, we can make screw mechanisms. Or let's jump to another location. Now each location is going to have something different. I'm just using some that so planetary gear sets, wood pitch, cogwheels, wood tar. Let's come down here and see what we got at this one here. Be again planetary gear sets. You've got areas here where you can build your upgrade parts, dry sand, quick lime. Then, of course, you can do your pieces of 8 and stuff. You could actually, make different types of materials. That's because a lot of these materials are going to be things that you can donate and have delivered to the Megafort for your faction. Now, the question is, will each group, will you be able to start your own faction? Like, Banished Souls is the Discord part of here. So, Banished Souls will have its own Megafort. Now, that was originally the plans that they were going to do, but, we're going to have to wait and see what they end up doing, or if they've just narrowed it down to whichever side you've picked. We'll just have to wait and see what they do in game, what Ubisoft has decided. As much as I know each of us wishes that our group will be able to build their own forts and stuff, it almost seems to me like they're going to be making it so your DMC guys will all be donating to one side and campaigning where y'all be donating to the other. I don't think that that's really the right way that they should do it, but you know, there again, it's going to depend on what they decide they want to do there. But yeah, so now can you find the electric dragon here? I've heard rumor, now I can't verify this, but I've heard rumor that you can actually locate him over in let's see here, Eastern Basin, which is right up in here. That he's randomly spawned there. I don't know. I've been up there a few times. I've not seen him, so I don't know if it's an aggro type thing or what. But I've heard that you can find him there. Looks like it's Watch the Throne. We've got a Great Shadow. This is going to be like a Vikram. This one here is going to be Curse of the Shadow. Then, of course, there was a Vikram up here the other day. Is he back up here now? Yeah, it's another Vikram up here too. So, like I said, you got 3 locations for him, it seems like, here now. It just depends. I don't know. I don't know if they're rotating this stuff. They had a Lepes down here earlier today, but he's randomly spawning. It's not something that you're seeing a lot of. So I'm not 100% certain what's really going on in game at this point with those types of bosses. But what I can tell you right now, if you're looking for a quick farm that's just going to be able to pop this one and then pop that one, you're going to want to come and just hit between 100 and Fangs of the Fara, and just hitting these 2 back and forth, you could actually make a little fortune here. So you can farm these out. It takes about, you know, just, well, let's time it over here. So I'm going to hop over real quick. And if you're still in here, guys, time it out as soon as we engage to when he goes down to get your pieces of 8. It's really the fastest, the quickest thing, or the longest thing you're going to be waiting on is for him to respawn. It takes about 4 or 5 minutes for him to respawn. In fact, you could actually sink the northern boss before you respawn, or he comes back in, so we'll be waiting on him. And that quicky's down, so we end up getting 130 pieces, 8 and 10 Kupfer bars, or Kufra bars, however you want to pronounce it. Then there was 180 pieces, 8. I'm not sure why that one dropped. Must have been when Hobbit was in here earlier. He may have hit it while I was off doing some other things. If you're playing with a group and they're farming something, make sure you pop over when they've dropped their event, because once that event ends for them and it drops a chest, that chest is sitting in the water waiting on you. So what I'm doing now is I'm waiting on my aggro to go away. Once that diminishes, I can fast travel again. But we're going to have a helm on us the whole time, so we'll have to deal with him real quick. This scaling stuff they're doing here lately is just ridiculous. But what you can do is you can come in, and when it starts doing this, just change your server. The quickest way to change your server is to go to World Tier 2 to come back into World Tier 1. That would take care of some of that. We do have a far wanted level against us. Said you're leaving your world event. It's too tough. You can run into some that'll leave you scratching your head, go, what happened? Now, if you're playing with a group and you see that it's too tough, jump out of your group and y'all attack it together, but not in a group. That should reduce the scaling. But what you can do, I think I'm glitched here or something. We should have done lost that one tier aggro, but we're going to fast travel. I'm going to show you a little trick here. We're going to fast travel to the St. Anne here. It's almost like the levels or the server you're in will start to tier to your level. You'll want to jump into the next world tier if you've opened it up. If not, you'll have to log completely out of the game and then re-log in, and it will end up resetting your scaling on your ship. But understand, the longer you play in a server, the higher the scaling is going to continue to build, and the more friends that you have join up in the server, and the more of you that are attacking fortresses and stuff, you're going to slowly see that build up. So those are some things to be aware of. There it went, finally. We're going to go ahead and travel into a new tier here and then come back in, because we shouldn't be seeing level 15 and 19 ships. That's insane in World Tier 1. Like I said, that could just be because it didn't used to have a scaling tier that would continue to scale as you farm the server. So that may be something new Ubisoft's added. They've not mentioned it in any of their upgrades, but it's not really new for them to not mention some things. The Festering Rose. I can't recall what mission that is. Is that a main mission or is that just a convoy? I did see one of my old favorites pop up the other earlier today. It was the Oak Welling. I think it was right in here is where it popped up, but I didn't stop over to farm it. But you used to actually get some pretty good gear out of it, but I didn't really see anything that I really needed when I scoped it, so I just kept on, because like I said, more or less at this point I'm trying to build up 8s. Now, if you got a team, you can come up and you can knock the crap out of Houston. So if you're looking to add somebody, I'll show you how to do that. You can go into Ubisoft, you can add a friend. You're going to add, let's see what my Ubi ID is, CrypticGamin 723. So go ahead and add me in game. You can find me in there, and if y'all want to run some Houston, or if you want me to just travel with you and I can use a healing ship while you grind out some of the stuff, hey, I can do that. But right now it's going to be double XP weekend this weekend. That's Saturday and Sunday. And my plan is for any of the new folks, we got several that have come in, or even people that are still grinding out a lot of the content. We'll be working with those guys to try and get them up in their levels within the Discord group. So it's a fleet. Let's see what you got here. I don't know if that one's in here or not. Risk the rising tide. Long march. Didn't see it in mine. But each server runs a different set of missions, I think, is what seems to be going on. They'll eventually rotate around, but so if you've opened up your world tier system, there's usually a table here. Unfortunately, it looks like it's glitched out. We're going to go to Cutthroat Seas, which is tier 2. And then once we get here, we'll load back over into the baby waters is what I call it. I don't know what you call it, but the shallows. We're going to hop back over here and continue on with some farming. But this is really the quick way to reset your scaling. It's going to move you to a totally new server. Yeah, so that one there, it brought the Oak Welling in there. So you got Oak Welling here. Like I said, I didn't have anything I needed, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. And I'm going to head back over here to World Tier 1. And I think I'm going to call a stream because it is 12:30, guys. But I appreciate everyone who hopped in here. And again, I've posted up that Discord thing. Any of the videos, if you're wanting to join in, remember that those Discord links, they do have an expiration date. They do last 7 days typically. And if you're clicking on what's not working, just comment in and I'll get you a fresh one so you can join in. But y'all have a wonderful day. And again, appreciate you stopping in.